Welcome back to the Mark Faris Experience. Today we have Josh and Christine Panetta. These guys are just regimented, super sharp, young business professionals that have built a phenomenal company. It's called Limitless Staffing. They have 15 staff. And get this, guys, they placed 2,000 IT consultants. So they're, we'll just say, extremely sharp at what they do. And they built a phenomenal company on both sides of the border as well. Christine and Josh, welcome to the show.
Thanks for inviting us, Mark. Appreciate it. It's an honor.
Happy to be here.
Well, and we've had some really good conversations in the past, but we haven't really got into the origin story and how you guys started. Can we start there and share a little bit about how you guys got into headhunting and, you know, the placing these IT consultants and how you got into the business?
Yeah, so I'll start. So Christine and I actually first met at Brock University. I started dating back in 2012, graduated from there. My dad had a background in real estate at the time. Right out of school was a mortgage specialist, you know, giving just something kind of felt off, you know, giving advice to people much older than me when I didn't have a mortgage myself, and, you know, kind of, you know, being in his coattails, and felt like I needed to sort of branch off and do my own thing. Ended up following Christine to the city. Got a basic, you know, recruitment job, 40K a year sort of thing. Was really lucky to get good training from an American company, who was just opening up their first office in Toronto. So really got a sense of, you know, how to build a business from scratch, and had phenomenal training. I was good at what I did, but I kept coming into that same issue where you'd find the candidate, you know, you'd find the client, the candidate wanted to accept, the client wanted to proceed, but due to the firm's overhead minimum margin, we could never close deals. So it happened probably about 10 times or so. And finally, I, you know, sort of thought to myself that if we had some financing, you'd be a really good business opportunity here to help, you know, not only the consultant, but the clients as well. So fast forward 10 years and, you know, sure enough, we did 50 million last year in revenue, and it's been kind of a whirlwind of a ride. So, you know, me and my business partner, Colby, who's not on right now, you know, we're able to sort of start it cold calling from you know, our condo in the city. Went 6 months, believe it or not, without making a single cent. And then finally caught a break, with, you know, an IT director who just happened to, we bumped, into each other at the gym in our condo. I dropped my old business card that had me as a mortgage specialist at BMO. He had a good laugh at it. Turns out he's an IT director at BMO. And, you know, I sort of got my first shot in there. And yeah, I ended up getting the first placement, November 30th, 2016. We'll never forget it. And yeah, it's been quite the ride ever since.
That's phenomenal. It's crazy how you can start from nothing. You see an opportunity and you went for it. Now, just for the listeners, can you explain a little bit about how it works? Because it's somewhat of, you're playing the matchmaking game. Can you talk like and maybe simplify how headhunting works? And, you know, for the listeners that are out there that potentially might want to reach out to you, is like they can't find a good candidate, and that's where you guys in your business comes in.
Yeah. So we specialize in contract work. So a lot of these big companies, you know, such as Bank of Montreal, Home Depot, Equifax, et cetera, you know, they pay, you know, for example, let's say $100 an hour for a project manager. We'll go out, you know, with our recruiters over like LinkedIn, Monster, cold calls, referrals, et cetera. You know, we can find them and we place them for, let's say, you know, $80 an hour. And then you collect that difference of $20 an hour for 2, 3, sometimes 5 years, depending how long the project is. So, you know, coming from Barrie, I didn't even realize this sort of thing existed. And it really opened my eyes when moving to Toronto and seeing the opportunity. And not only that, but we were able to do, like I said, these deals for significantly less, sometimes up to 600% less than these big box firms. So it's a three-way win because, you know, the consultant's happy, with their pay rate for them to stay long and do a good job. The client is happy because they don't have to pay an arm and a leg like they would with a big box firm. And we're still happy because it's still profitable for us. So it's, that's sort of where we found our little niche and, to be able to sort of keep all parties happy. And, that's really it in a nutshell.
That's smart. You found the honey hole and you went all in on the honey hole there. I want to go back to when you guys started where there was no revenue for 6 months. And this is one of the biggest reasons why people, they just don't want to start because entrepreneurship, you got to start and you're making zero money. So it's like, what's the salary? It's like, it's nothing. So I want to go back to, and, Christine, you can feel free to, to step in here as well. And like, how did you guys handle that from like a, say, relationship and also, getting that off the ground? Because I remember going back with Joanna, it was 6 months into the business for us. Joanna came home one day. She's like, Mark, I couldn't afford milk today. And I was like, as the husband, I'm like, oh, and she's Polish as well. And her father's a strong business guy. And I was failing her. I was failing him. And I was like, it was brutal. It was hard at the beginning. And like for many entrepreneurs at the beginning is tough. And it sounds like it was tough for you guys as well. So how did you guys get through that period at the beginning? And then, were there any kind of lessons learned along the way?
Definitely. So, I was living with Josh at the time in Toronto. He was working out of our 1-bedroom condo, a shoebox really, in downtown Toronto. So we were really relying on my entry-level salary. I was working at an insurance firm in downtown Toronto. But I had this blind faith in Josh because there's no one who is as tenacious in this industry and relentless. And I say that with all love, who will not stop until the deal gets done and everyone's happy. So I just had, like I said, this kind of blind faith that I knew this was going to work out one way or another. And it's almost like you just have to believe it because there's no going back, right? I could see Josh was going to be an entrepreneurial person, and that was definitely out of my comfort zone because I never had that in the books for me. But fast forward to 2021, Josh's business is expanding rapidly over the pandemic because everyone needs IT consultants to support their e-commerce online as all the stores have shut down. So we had, maybe some weeks, how many interviews would you say we were having going off, Josh? Maybe
like 15 to sometimes 20 interviews in one day. Yeah.
Yeah. So
the pandemic really changed things for us because back in the day, it was like, to convince someone to take time off work, commute, pay for parking, interview. Whereas now it's like, hey, just hop on a quick MS Teams, check it out. Let's see if it's for you. So things move 100 times quicker. And obviously, it was a lot better for us as a business. Everything's just that much quicker and easier. So although the pandemic was tragic for a lot of people, it was really actually quite helpful for our business.
And it was really rewarding to be able to give opportunities to people who were without a job because jobs were being created for people in the tech space. And there were new opportunities that maybe they weren't the most experienced, but they needed people to do these jobs and they were willing to train them. So it was great to see Josh and his team fulfill those roles. And that's actually when I left my career in health insurance to join Limitless Staffing. So that was a big transition for us, but it's something that I definitely don't regret doing. Although working with your spouse is not for the weak. But together it is like the best feeling to win together. But, there's always those difficult days too. But I think overall it's been so, rewarding for us.
Yeah. Well, Josh, we're very blessed to have women there to back us at the beginning. It was the same with Joanna and Joanna. She's like, yeah, go get him, Tiger. And she was like betting on everything at the beginning. But what's really interesting to know is that it wasn't just me. Joanna was in there every single day. And she was at the beginning as well. Same with you, Christine. It's like you were generating income at the very beginning. And then from there, you jumped in full-fledged and, you're working and bootstrapping it as well. And right beside Josh going through that early struggle there as well. And it sounds like it was similar for you, but having that support and having, Joanna so aligned with me and believing in me and saying like, go on out there, that was so valuable. And I would just like, if you can have your spouse like support it, and we're going to talk about some of the tactics you guys maybe have to work together as well as a couple in a business, because that there's beauty there, but there's also some challenges there as well, because it's like work, it never leaves you. It's like, is that work and is that home, and it never seems to stop. So we'll definitely talk about that, but I think having that support at the beginning is key. And Christine, you made a good bet there on Josh there at the beginning, which is good. It sounds like it's done really well. Now, Josh, maybe you could share a little bit about that first 6 months. What was it that helped you get past there? Was it just, it sounds like, 15 interviews a day you guys were having. So,
well, that wasn't until like after the pandemic, like we were just trying to get a first shot in those first 6 months. So I'll take you back a little bit. So yeah, I was actually enjoying my job at the firm I had told you about, felt I was good at it. But what I didn't like was the commute. It was in Etobicoke. I was coming from the East End. The manager was like, if you weren't there at 8 a.m. sharp, it's like, he's giving you crap for it. And I told the manager at the time that, if you could let me work from home a couple of days a week, I could, really produce a lot more for you. And, it ultimately never let me sort of come to that. And after a while, actually, this is a true story. I was actually at a concert, Osheaga, Friday night, 2015. I don't know what it was, but I saw the Red Hot Chili Peppers play, and I was so inspired that I said, I'm not going, as soon as I'm back after the long weekend, I'm quitting my job. I'm going all in on this. I do not care. And I sort of had that mindset that it was like, it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. Like, I'm not going to give up. I know I can do it. And, obviously had a couple good breaks running into the right people and bumping into, some few key contacts, but, I made the most of it, and, here we are. But in those 6 months, it was definitely tough. And there was definitely times where, I did have a backup job just in case, a bit of a plan B. I will admit that. And it's funny, it was at Yellow Pages, and the building was actually being built right beside our condo. So I could see it being built, and I knew I only had really about 6 months of saved income.
Oh, you had a deadline. Oh, that's good.
I had about 6 months, right? Or else, I was running out of money to make rent.
Yeah.
So it was actually my dad who had dropped out, had helped. I think he came to the condo and said, listen, like, you haven't made money in 6 months, and, follow up with your guy. If not, I think you should take the job at Yellow Pages, sort of thing. And yeah, I'll never forget. I followed up with the manager, like, how did the guy do in the interview? And, he's like, oh, he actually did well. I confused your firms. He actually got the job. Like I'm going to send you over the paperwork, give it to your legal team, let's go, sort of thing. And I was like, legal team, like, mom. So at the time I was like 22, 23. God bless her. My mom was extremely helpful to help me with all the back end sort of paperwork and, legal stuff that's needed to be compliant with the CRA, et cetera. So, that's where Christine actually kind of came in. She took her spot and so my mom could retire, but, definitely couldn't have done it with, I had a lot of support and help, right? It wasn't just me fully. I can't take full credit for that. So, they keep things, very simple for me to just do all the sales and be successful, and they handle all the back end. So definitely agree with you to the point where, you're only as good as your wife, right? Like you need to have a strong partner that's going to support you. And for any young entrepreneur out there, the biggest decision is who you marry, in my opinion.
Oh, I 100% agree with you. That to me is, spend a good portion of your time at the beginning. Make sure you get it right, 100%. And probably the question, if you're asking people, this is one of the best filtering questions. If you have to start asking people, should I marry that person or not? Your answer is pretty clear that it's probably a no. For me, it was like, I remember driving to church the one day, and my brothers were in the car, and I didn't ask them. I said, hey, I'm gonna propose to Joanna today. And they're like, oh, cool. Oh, I was like, it was a matter of fact. I'm going to do it. All right. And so 100% agree that you gotta pick right. So going back to the first 6 months, so the key activities, what were the things that you did, you think, that got you through that early struggle? Like what, from an activity to drive business, what were you doing in those?
No. Cold calling, number one. And then following up with an email. And then not only that, even if you get a no, just keep following up. Obviously to a certain extent, but I think what separated me from a lot of the other people that try to start their own firm is you just keep following up, and you keep checking in, and you keep making the calls, and you have to put in the work to really get that traction. And then once you get that traction and you do a good job, it becomes easier. You don't need to make, 250 cold calls every day, but to get it off and running and get that traction, it is so critical to make contacts, and just, it's purely numbers and, staying on top of it.
Oh man.
I would also say,
yeah, go ahead, Christine.
In addition to that, something that Josh has really instilled throughout our company is the minute a manager or a client, I should say, contacts you, try to respond to them directly, immediately, I should say. That any little distinction that we can make amongst our competitors, because there are tons of staffing firms, but to have that, immediate response, maybe you don't have the answer right away, but at least to have that touch point to say, I hear you, I'm on this, gives a lot of reassurance. And I know that from even when I'm on the client side of things, just to have that acknowledgement really makes a big difference. And then of course, our speed of actually delivering, our candidates, that's also where we put the pedal to the metal. Like that's definitely one of our, driving forces here. We have an excellent team of recruiters. It's funny. We're talking about how important it is to pick your spouse and to, be very, clear in your selection. I guess Josh has that recruitment instilled within him because he found a really great team of individuals, that support Limitless Staffing to, bring those candidates to our clients. So I have to say so much of this is having the right team around you. It's funny. Everyone that we have hired has either been, a friend or a family friend or a friend of a friend. So there is a bit of a network and that allows us to have synergy and trust within our team for sure.
Oh, that's great. I want to circle back on how you drive speed of response in a culture. I'm going to circle back to that. But one thing I really want to underline for the listeners out there is that anytime you start a business, what you guys did in regards to taking massive action at the beginning for lead generating, there's a really good book called The Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes. And he talks about that in any business at the beginning when you launch, it's like 80% of your time is hardcore lead gen, just direct outreach and not sitting and waiting, working on your website and the marketing. That's the 20%. The 80% of it is actually reaching out and having conversations. So not preparing for the phone call, but actually having conversations back to back to back to back to back to back. Like that's where you're going to generate business, because in any business, you're really in two businesses. You're in the business of like whatever it is that you're in, and then you're in the lead generating business as well. And so you did that, and it got you through that early period. And I think with a lot of entrepreneurs, when they start, they underestimate how much massive action they need to take at the beginning. And you need so much energy to get the rocket ship off the ground. And like you had said, once you get it going, you get momentum going, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think a lot of folks think they need to know everything about the business and have so much experience before, starting their own. And the truth is, there's never going to be a perfect time. And, you just kind of have to get started and learn along the way. And, I always say, fake it till you make it, right? Like even before, now we are the number one vendor for contingent talent with a lot of the big accounts, but I was telling people that, before we even had placements on there, right? So, I believed it before it happened and sort of manifested that way, right? And obviously you have to do a good job for your clients, but, you also have to be passionate and really make them feel it as well, right? You have to almost be a little bit delusional at the start to really get it going, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I agree.
Sure.
And you never let the no's stop you. Something that I always really admired about witnessing this, because I wasn't part of the company at the time, was, not letting any kind of negative feedback stop you from getting to your next opportunity, and just, keep hammering the phones. I can still remember, those early days.
Yeah, it takes real tenacity and grit to get like 98 no's and you're going to get 2 yeses. It's just, you got to keep going. And eventually when you get better at talking on the phone, and you can eventually, you maybe it takes, you got to do 96 calls and you can get 4 next steps and you can improve your conversion. But at the beginning, it's just straight up hardcore calls. And so when I started, like, I'm more of a natural inward. And so I'm not a natural talker. And so for me, it was just getting out and talking to thousands of people, knocking on thousands of doors, cold calling. When I started, it was the same thing. Like, I just went down the list, like, hey, we listed a house, not me, because I didn't have a listing. It was like our company listed a house down the street, and we're looking for buyers. Do you know anybody looking to move to the area? It'd be nice to be able to pick your own neighbor, right? And they're like, oh yeah, it would be nice. It's like, no, I don't know anybody looking to move. I said, well, have you ever thought about selling? And then they would say, no, we're not. But they might say, I was able to book 2 appointments from 100 conversations. So that was the number. And whenever I had a lead and they were thinking about it, I would kind of mark them down on a side list and I'd deliver some chocolates. But over time, what's really cool, and I don't know if you guys found this, is that the natural byproduct of having all these conversations is you become a lot better at doing it. Is that something that you found with time?
Absolutely. And a book that I know he gets a lot of flack, but a book that really stuck with me when I first started out was The Way of the Wolf with Jordan Belfort. Just specifically, his reasonable man tone on the cold calls, and sort of just simplifying the sales to make it as easy as possible to get the sale. So that was really helpful for me. Just keeping it as simple as possible, and having that tonality on the phone to really get across and separate yourself.
Yeah. And that movie.
With you, with what drew us to you, Mark, was, obviously I grew up in Barrie, and, saw your signs everywhere. Like, you are literally everywhere. And, which I thought was impressive. But what really stuck me is when we moved down to Florida, your signs were popping up there too. And that's when I was like, okay, we need to reach out to this guy. Clearly he's got something figured out here. So you guys have done a great job marketing yourself and your brand. So,
well, again,
impressive.
We've run into amazing, clients such as yourself through the years, and you got a good team behind you as well, as you guys alluded to earlier. It becomes important. That's what we were able to figure out. Going back to that movie, Jordan Belfort, and was it the Wolf of Wall Street? It was interesting. I was watching the movie, and Joy was like halfway through, she wanted to get up and walk out because it was. But I'm like, oh, there's so many good sales insights here. I'm like, what he did up until prior to committing all the fraud and everything. Yeah. I'm like, geez, this is amazing. Like, how he's training his team members and how he was going and he was role playing with them. And it got out of hand later. Yes. But there was a lot of really good sales skills in there. And I went to a conference and I saw him speak there the one time, and he had said that whenever you reach out to somebody, and this is good, this will apply to anyone. He said that people want to know 3 things, and you need to be able to showcase this like within, like, he said it was the first like 5 to 7 seconds, but he said, number 1, you want to be enthusiastic. And the second one is that you're a market expert. And the last one is sharp as a tack. So they want to know that you're sharp at what you do. And so when you're reaching out to somebody, if you can exemplify those 3 things, enthusiasm, being a market expert, and sharp as a tack, then, you have a higher probability of, working with them. So,
100%,
some good insight from him. Yeah.
Yeah. No, he's been really good.
Yeah. Right on. Yeah. So, okay. So let's move on now in regards to, you guys made it past the first 6 months, and then you guys started to scale. So I want to know how you guys were able to attract these A players to be able to build a culture. And then I'm going to circle back to this, how you're able to build a culture of quick responsiveness and getting back to people very quickly, because that's something you guys do really well. But how were you able to attract these A players?
So so our first placement that we did with one of the top 5 banks, the manager at the time was like, when I quoted the rate to him, he responded with, well, sorry, is this the bill rate or the pay rate to the candidate? So he was so like surprised with the rate I quoted him. It was so low compared to what he's seen. It caught attention. He thought that was the pay rate that the candidate was getting, but it was the bill rate actually to our firm. So, you know, he had never seen a bill rate that low for that skill set. And he had sort of referred us to his peers, you know, work with them. They just, you know, did this for $40 an hour cheaper than the last firm I did it with. So we kind of, right off the get-go, we kind of gained attention that way and got referred to other managers who were hiring. And just to find the candidates, I mean, anyone can do it. It's over like LinkedIn, it's over Monster, Indeed. Back in the day, there was Workopolis, and then through referral. So it was just, you know, I never actually recruited. I just did the sales to get the job requirements. They call them recs. And then I would pass it over to my time, at the time, my business partner, Colby, who did the recruiting. He's more, introverted and just knows more about technology than I do. I'm the least technical guy, you know. I hardly know how to set up my own TV. So, you know, I just more of a numbers guy and more of just sort of connecting with people. And, that's just sort of how we gained our reputation through our low margins. And, we were able to attract top talent because we can pay them more than, you know, a big box firm.
And a lot of that has to do with the fact we had such minor overhead. Like we had basically no overhead except for like the insurance fees and all the other compliance fees that we have to have in place. But it's not as though we had an office space. Everyone worked from home. Our recruiters all worked from home. And then in terms of like our payroll side, it was, as Josh was mentioning, his mother was very instrumental, in beginning to get it off the ground for us. So we also even had Josh's uncle working with us. I mean, everyone was all hands on deck, and we were really fortunate to have some loans from family friends who invested in the business, which was really great. So it's been really special to have people's buy-in and their trust to have that opportunity to finance this, right? Because we're advancing the payments to these IT consultants before it's received from our client. So it's so important to be able to have money in the bank in the beginning when we're really just running a very lean team. But like Josh was saying, to have the right team supporting us, a lot of the recruiters that we found were also running into the same pain points of, we just want to get this deal done, but why do we have to have such high margin? And of course, other firms have their reasons for their high margin, and I'm not trying to say otherwise. I don't work there, but I think it's important where we could set ourselves apart because we run a very lean team, low margins. We're able to really make that difference and create that volume generation as opposed to, you know, a few deals with what we'd say like it's a higher margin.
That's so smart. So, and this is a really good lesson as well for all business owners, is like it gets into the whole lean manufacturing and Six Sigma in regards to if something is not bringing value to the actual client, then the question is, do you need it? And this is where for you created your whole business model around basically the waste that these other companies were doing, that they bloated up in regards to all the infrastructure. And you came in super lean and like, hey, what is going to be the most valuable thing that our clients want? And you were able to strip away everything else. And that's what brought your price down, where you're able to deliver more value for less cost and allow you to grow. Now the key is going to be, as you continue to scale up, which you're at a really strong number, is to keep that lean mindset to be able to scale that that's how are you managing that now that you're growing?
Good question. It's been tough. It's been, you know, and you know, we got to be grateful for what we have, right? But it's been tough lately, and there's no easy answer to it. You have to continue to scale and hire the right people, and we doing that slow. I've done a good job kind of hiring some people to help take some work off my plate, but Christine, I think, is the next one that we need to really hire some more people to help her out, because she's constantly working, and, you know, you got to have a quality of life too, right? It's not all about work. And
I might be a bit of a control freak though.
Yeah.
Like I could probably delegate a bit more. But when it's like your baby, you know, no one's going to care about your business more than you do. Right. But I could definitely, you know, I definitely have areas of improvement to maybe have a little bit more leeway. So I think that's something that I'm working on. I remember hearing this quote being like, you know, the best thing you can do is to make yourself redundant in your own business. Yeah. Because I mean, hopefully sooner than later, we're hoping to start a family and, you know, have a little bit more work-life balance, but we're getting there. We just have to keep recruiting for our own company in order to, again, make ourselves redundant in this.
It's funny that we're a recruitment company and hire all the time for other people, but when you hire for us, that's a little bit challenging.
That's a good one. It's like the contractor's house never gets finished. Your humanity never get around. I had one of my buddies is like, yeah, my wife going through school, she was thinking about getting massage, being a massage therapist, but she didn't. I'm like, that's probably a good thing, because if she did, you never get a massage from her, because you're doing that all day and you don't want to do it at home. So that's really good. And you know, I was having lunch with one of my other buddies, and he's like, hey, Mark, maybe I just need to bring he runs a big business. He's like, maybe I just need to bring my standards down. I'm like, your high standards is exactly why you got to where you are. And so this is where I found, for me, as I was starting to scale, is that you can pull way too much in regards. And if you pull way too much, the key there is to make sure that the standards that you were always really hardcore on, it's like clarified in a clear document in regards to how you're run. And so I've done this in the past where maybe I stepped away from a department, and then like a year or two later, I dove in there. I was like, oh, well, like, what's going on here, here, and here? I'm like, okay, show me the manual. It's like, there isn't one. I'm like, my bad. My bad. When I took, step back, I didn't actually download the standards that were really important. And then I didn't tie a feedback loop in those standards to ensure that I'm getting updates on a weekly basis, that it truly, in fact, because over time, their standards start to, they say you want to inspect what you expect. And so getting the right people is key, but the standards that you have you want to make sure that as you continue to grow, I found, for me anyways, that's been one thing I got to keep top of mind. And then that there's a feedback loop on those most important things. Otherwise, it's easy for it to start to subside. I'm not sure.
I agree. It definitely resonates. I think you got to find that perfect balance of like working on your business outside of it, but also still being within it, in the trenches with the guys, and making sure it has to be a good balance. You can't just completely step away and hire people and hope for the best. You have to have a bit of both. And I think the most successful entrepreneurs are good at juggling that, right? Yeah. Mixing it up and having both. Yeah. So that's something that you learn on the way.
And not being afraid to make changes within your processes, right? Like with something that worked maybe in the last 6 months, we got to mix it up with how we're like streamlining things. So whenever we've hired new members of our team internally, not IT consultants, I'm always saying, hey, what do you see that we're doing that you would like to do differently, or you think maybe you have a better approach to it? We just hired someone recently who's kind of supporting Josh's role as a business development manager. So it was great to see the kind of, new perspectives that other people can bring. And I think sometimes as business owners, I'm not going to suggest that this is Josh or myself, but maybe we're so used to doing things our way that it's like you kind of miss the whole point, right? So I think we're definitely asking for more feedback from our internal team members to say, where do you see gaps, and like where can we make this better for everyone?
Yeah. That's so attractive from a leadership standpoint, when you have the leaders of the company they're not just giving you lip service as in, tell me your feedback and we'll do it. And then it kind of goes to the endless pit.
Right.
Nothing ever happens, but that you guys are open to feedback, and you actually are open to change. I think that people really appreciate that. And that to me is like is the level 5 leaders is like, there's a humbleness to them. And so the key there for them is like, I don't even care if I'm right or you're right. It doesn't even matter. It's like, what's best for the company. And that means that we can change everything, but be ready to prove your point. Be ready to back up your idea. And, if you got to be able to, the best idea wins.
Absolutely. And I find people who are just new to joining your company, they're so eager to, really provide value, especially off the get-go, to be able to prove like, you made the right decision in hiring me. And again, talking about our internal team. So it's really nice to have that like new energy being brought in, because I think sometimes we can be so, set in our ways. So it's definitely something we're exploring more.
Yeah. The other thing that I found with that, it's interesting because this has been something recent that I've identified, is there's certain things that you did that were able to get you to where you are. And sometimes they're hidden in regards to what truly differentiates you. And so for me, it was one of those like, okay, this and this and this are really important. And this is why we've done it. And that was something that I didn't really clarify in the past. Like, so for us, so I'm going to talk the brokerage side, and then there's the investment firm. But for this example, I'm going to share the brokerage, is that exceptional marketing was something that was always something that we wanted to deliver. Best experience was another one. And then the professional loving realtors. So for us is like, okay, the exceptional marketing is really important. It's like the feature books, when somebody comes in and takes, that is not something that we're going to try and save a few pennies on and cheap out on, because that's a very important piece when people are selling their home, that's something of value. Because it's been brought up in the past, new idea, let's do it virtual. We can do a QR code, but people need something physical. So it's like going back to, as the founder, you have context. We have context in our businesses that nobody else really has. And sometimes it's just like, I know this is really important. I know the other people are pushing something, but it's like, this is like the DNA fabric of the company. And that's where there's like being open to ideas. And there's also almost being stubborn in like, here's our core business. And this is what makes us really good. And I'm not going to get blown around by, you got 5 people there telling you, we got to change. It's like, that Steve Jobs approach that I'm going to keep going on this because I just know this is right. And ultimately that's where you guys as the owners, you got to make that call. And I know for me, it's been lonely sometimes as well. And that's why part of these conversations are good, because, we can kind of relate. And we've had some really good conversations in the past on business, but this is where getting out into the field and speaking with other business owners where they can have context and, get out of that loneliness, I think is really powerful as well.
Yeah, we could definitely relate to that. We have some late Friday nights working until 10, 11 o'clock at night, and don't really have time for friends a lot on that, especially when most people are out partying. So, and then being down here in the States, of course, a lot of our friends and family are back in Canada. So still see them when we can, but we try to, we're trying to get more of that work-life balance and see some more friends as well. But it is nice to come on here and just, discuss with you some of your struggles in the early days and, to see where you are at now.
Now, before I get into it, because I know you guys are like, super healthy and you guys like, the biohacking and optimizing performance on, in the business and in life. I don't want to talk about that. But just before we do, how do you drive accountability with, like, for example, the speed of response? So you guys started like getting back to people really quick. How do you drive accountability for your team members to do it on an ongoing basis, to be able to level up at that, your standard in the business? How do you maintain that high level of service with your team members?
It's a good question. I think we lead by example. Like, a lot of folks like are tagged, in on the emails and see just how quickly we're responding to stuff. And, how in our business as well, it's like every second matters. Like, I know a lot of businesses are like that, but, other people are interviewing around. There's other jobs, there's other candidates being interviewed for that same role. Like, every second matters. And that was another thing that separated us. That other firm that I referred to, they had such a process. You'd get a requirement in, you'd have to, go through it with the team and input it into the database and qualify it. And then they start working on it. Well, by the time all these other firms are doing that, we're already contacting the candidate, submitted to the client, and they're interviewing before they're even starting to work on it. Right. So it's just built into our culture to just, respond right away. And it just kind of resonates with everyone. And the one thing where I think where we lack is maybe, our data input and like our database of really, staying organized. We're just so focused on making money and closing the deals that sometimes, it is good to, mark what you're doing down, but we've always just seemed to be successful moving as quick as possible, always. So,
yeah,
it's a tough question. It's a good question, but I would just say, lead by example and show people how quickly you're responding and how quickly things move, and they'll, eventually figure it out and follow suit.
It's good.
I would also say you're in constant communication with our whole team member. We have our full chat with everyone. I know Josh has his specific group chats with his recruitment team. So I think every morning at like 6:30, he's typing in the chat, just saying, "Good morning, everyone. Here's where we're at. This is our focus for today." And not afraid to, pick up the phone and check in on everyone. And, in the event that maybe someone is, needs to kind of pick it up a bit, we just ask for a bit of a report for that day, like nothing major, but just to get a feel for like, hey, where are your pain points? Where can we support you to be like optimized with your efficiency? So because I run more so the back end administrative side, and yes, we now have much more organized database, which maybe wasn't there in the beginning, but that's where we're changing our habits, while still being streamlined. It is so important that we are working quickly on the back end as well without making any errors, right? Because we're dealing with people's payments. This is what is paying their mortgages. They're expecting it, on time, everything like that. Despite maybe not submitting everything on time, they need their payment at the right time. So it's just having that kind of first impression with our IT consultants to show them, hey, we're going to take care of you. Just be open to our communication. And, taking those phone calls at, 8 p.m. on a Friday, like Josh is saying, to make sure everyone's happy. If someone just needs to know why they trusted you with their job, right? They could have taken a job with any recruitment firm, but to have that level of distinction to say, I understand that maybe this is your first time being an IT consultant. You've only ever been a full-time employee at a different tech company. We're going to help you find a way to open up a corporation. A lot of IT consultants like to have their own corporations. And I'm no tax accountant by any means, but we do refer them to great tax accountants and things of that nature. But it's just to kind of spell it out for them of what they can expect and to make it a little bit less overwhelming, because starting a new job is overwhelming enough. We want to help alleviate that administrative burden to feel like they're going to be, well taken care of.
Yeah. No, that's great. And you guys, it's such a great team. So Josh, like leading by example in regards to like speed, and Christine on the back end, well, still the speed of execution as well, but making sure it's like, we got to make sure to stay in the rails here, guys. Like, okay. And that's massive, that combo approach. And I can say from personal experience, having that, allowing me to go run quickly on the backside has been, it's such a blessing, because it's like, otherwise the tracks fall off the wheels fall off the cart, so to speak.
100%. Right. And another book, I know we were talking about books. Another one that really stuck with me early on was a book called Radical Candor. And it basically sort of, is referring to you just have to be as honest and transparent with people, whether they're doing a good job or a bad job, for the sake of the company. Like, don't be scared to hurt people's feelings. Obviously, don't be a jerk. Like, sometimes maybe I need to work on my delivery sometimes to some team members, right? But I have no problem being really direct and transparent. Sometimes Christine holds me back a little bit if I'm going too far, but I do think it is for the best, interest of the company to,
be straight.
Tell them, like, you're not doing a good job. You need to do this, pick it up here. Or when they are doing a good job, acknowledge
it's important to celebrate their wins. Definitely important to celebrate wins, through bonuses, their commission is uncapped for our IT recruiters, and the sky's the limit for them. So we want them to feel like they have every opportunity to fulfill their own goals. So it's important to have those check-ins. And that book Josh was mentioning, Radical Candor, that's by Kim Scott. And that was something I think Josh read pretty early on in his career. But some would argue you might have not have even needed to read that because you're already pretty direct. So
yeah, well, there's wisdom in that, in telling people where they stand. I think people appreciate, especially if you're coming from a place of, my goal is to build you up. And in order for you to grow, this is something that we need to work on. And I think coming from like, listen, we're on this mission together and we're beside, and I want you to come, I see you in this company long term, and this is where we need to go together. And so instead of it's like, you do this, it's more like let's go. And I think that's where people, they're like, oh yeah, I can do that. And, but it can be challenging. There's so many different characters out there in regards to, addressing it. And some people, their standards are so high that they just, failing for them, it like, on that, I wouldn't say breaks them. I'd say it's very extremely painful if they think they did something wrong. And so that's where it's the hardest, because generally those are like super like A players there as well. So it's like making sure you're still like guiding, but you're doing it in a way that is received well, where they can hear you and then they can grow as well, because you want to still make sure to build them up. It's easy not to, but that's a great suggestion, Radical Candor, for the listeners out there. If you need to have the tough conversation and you're just not sure how to do it. Another good book with that I'll stack onto your suggestion is Crucial Conversations. And that book, and then they have Crucial Accountability. I haven't read Accountability, but Crucial Conversations, we did a whole study on that. And definitely a great read, especially if you're a business owner. So guys, how do you guys balance, health, business, life, how you're able to balance that, and what's your take on, getting the most out of life while being crazy successful in business? You guys, recently you're made a big move in regards to, where you guys are spending some of your time, and then staying healthy as well, because that's a big challenge for a lot of entrepreneurs is, staying fit, because you're working a crazy amount of hours, and that's like a secondary thing. And so how do you guys, what's your approach to life, to be able to do it all well?
Oh, it's a really important question. And I would answer that by saying, we're really disciplined in our routines. I've always been sort of that way. We have our I have my wake up time, bedtime, dedicated time to work out, non-negotiable. Like, even if whatever's going on, you got to prioritize it, because, the healthier you are, the more energy you have to take on more work and, ultimately succeed. Right. So Christine, we'll say, wasn't as disciplined as me at the start, but she's really picked it up over the last year. She works out probably more than me now. And we got her a meal prep. I've been pushing her she loves to cook, but I'm like, with the time of cooking, cleaning up, going to the grocery store, I'm like, just get a good meal prep service. You have them right there. You can, heat it up 1 second, boom, done eating, back at it. You save tons of time. If you have the money for it, I would definitely recommend something like that. Having your meals ready to go, super key. And just having your dedicated time to work out during the week.
What time is that for you guys? What being able, because during the day, sometimes it can get busy, and then is it morning, evening? Like, what's work for you?
So I start my day with a personal training session. I have a great trainer down here in Naples, and it's been great just to start my day off with that. I feel like I'm way more I have a better aptitude to be able to take on the challenges of the day after already getting that endorphin release. But as Josh was saying, maybe I was a little bit obstinate in the beginning to find my kind of fitness journey, if that makes sense. I was kind of just getting by because of everything going on. And then with just thinking about your health in a sense of the seeds that you're planting now are what you're going to, benefit from in the future. I know it sounds kind of corny, but it's really true. All about planting those seeds now. And, the health that you have now is not necessarily the health that you're going to have a decade from now. So what we can do currently is really going to, reap the benefits later on in life. So that's always been kind of where I guess when you're in your 20s, and I'm not in my 20s anymore, you're not as worried. But now that I turned 31, so I'm like, okay, it's time to buckle down. And yeah, in the last 2 years, I've been really taking my health seriously. And Josh has got me doing cold plunges with him. We have a pretty serious cold plunge circuit in our lanai here, and we do the hot tub, cold plunge, repeat, and it's been keeping our stress levels lower. Let's say that. I'm not going to say stress free because that's impossible, but I think having, like Josh said, those meal prep services. I do Fresh Fit Naples down here, but I mean, there's a million out there. It is a game changer. And I think part of me had a little too much pride to be like, no, I can cook for myself. Like, that's fine. But truly, it has been a game changer. And if it's even better that it's healthy. So I have to say he was right.
Yeah. Well, and it's an ongoing daily commitment, but once you get into that routine, then, it's amazing because actually with the cold plunge, what I found with me, it's like, how you get endorphins after a workout with the cold plunge. That's why whenever somebody says, I do cold plunge, I'm like, it's like my long lost friends here. What I mean by that is that the difference when it comes to the endorphin. So after you do a workout, you feel great. But then when you do a workout and you have a kind of a quick shower, and then you do a cold plunge or you do that on a daily basis, it takes those endorphins to like that whole other level. Yeah. And I found for me as well, like going away for a week, it really wasn't from a stress relief standpoint. It was okay. But what really helped me, if I did one day of like the hot, so whether it's sauna or hot tub, hot, cold plunge, and then relax and doing that same, we'll say that process that you just explained, Christine, that was like, my stress levels lowered significantly. And I think this is such an important topic to talk about because there's pressure in the business. And I think that in general, the entrepreneurs are so strong-willed that, and when I say they, it's we in many cases are so strong-willed. It's like, I don't need help. I'm fine. I'm going to muscle my way through. But then your body is still going through pressure. And so these little hacks, I think, from working out to walking to cold plunge to sauna to, eating healthy, seed oils in the restaurant, for example. I know Joanna's really big into that. Like we don't,
it's a big thing. Us too.
Right. So, these things are all more and more science and data is coming out to say that, listen, this is going to help you live longer. And it's interesting. The ultimate question that you ask the billionaires is, listen, if they were assessed with some sort of, health challenge, would you trade all of your money to be healthy again? And the answer is very clear. And so if that is the answer, then why not invest now? So down the road, you actually, you can have both. And so I think that is such a good investment and it's an easy one to overlook until you don't have it and you realize how important it is.
Absolutely.
100%. That's another thing I forgot is my daily walk in the morning, 3 kilometers every morning, no matter what, rain or shine. Even when we're back in Ontario, if it's pouring rain, I'll still get out there.
That's tough in Ontario in the winter time. So you're a trooper for that one.
It is. It's tough.
I had back game changer. The walking's been in the morning for me has been a game changer, big time.
Yeah. Walks are. You underestimate the power. You need 3 good walks a day. We do one in the evenings and the mornings, and then try to get out for one in the afternoon.
Oh, I gotta catch up to you there. I don't do the 3 a day, so I'll add one more there and then circle back. Let you know from an impact standpoint. I love it. So that's good. You're challenging me here. Okay, final question here before I get into the rapid fire. The investing side of things. So you start making money as an entrepreneur. And so, entrepreneurs that are out there listening, it's like there's a sea of options out there for people. And so you guys have been super successful. What recommendations do you guys have for if you have dollars that you want to invest? What kind of suggestions would you give them for the listeners?
Well,
I'm definitely not an expert in it. Oh, you want to handle it, Christine?
Well, I'll take a stab at it. Well, first of all, we were really pleased to invest in the Key Largo, the Tampa Key Largo. Yes, thank
Largo,
you. Back in Largo. This was about a year ago now. So that was, a great opportunity for us to invest with Faris Capital. But in addition to that, we have been acquiring rental properties. So as we have been purchasing a property, it's important that, we're looking at the different like neighborhoods and, trying to find the best tenants to inhabit those properties. So, we're that's been kind of a main investment for us. We have, a few in Ontario, and I think we'd like to start a few down here south of the border. So that's been, I can't necessarily say if it's a recommendation, but that's what we've done. At the time, it made sense. I know right now the market, well, I'm not an expert in the market, but I think we'd like to continue that. Some of our friends have Airbnb businesses, and that's been something that has been super inspiring to us because it's nice to have that kind of creative side to have interior design as well, which is kind of something that aligns with me. And also bringing in our customer service side from our business, I think would translate well. So I think that's also in our roadmap for the future for short-term vacation rental properties as well.
But what is nice with your investments, Mark, is that, we can invest with you and then we're kind of hands off where we don't need to worry or stress about it. You're kind of in there, your team is in there sort of handling, the tenants and stuff like that and all the headaches that come with it, which is really good for busy people like us that, don't have the time to manage all that. So it's really nice from that standpoint. I do think like a lot of people, like I a lot of my friends that invest in the stock market and, they're constantly looking at the stocks every day and, stressing, maybe I'll take it out, maybe, just some of those, just, have a good mix of stocks and real estate and, for the stock market, just invest in safe stocks and don't even look at it. Just have the idea that you're going to hold on to it and over a long term, it will be good for you. Right. So, well, we don't even look at, or I don't at least look at our stocks. I know Christine maybe might, but
they say that money needs speed and wealth needs time. And, wealth building, it's one of those like invest well and then, move on. And the interesting thing that I've spoken with super successful people, and it generally comes down to they did two things. They built businesses and they invested in real estate. And so you guys are doing that in a big way. So congrats on that. And you guys ready here? Circling in the rapid fire. I could keep going. I mean, it feels like I scratched the surface. I got to like, I don't know, maybe a couple of the questions we're going to go into, but it's just fascinating. And it's incredible what you guys have done at such a young age. It's interesting. I think that you guys set such a high bar for what's possible for the younger generations. And I think that's where, if they could just take a page out of your book and just like apply what you guys have been doing, I think that, the future of, business is in very good hands. And so, congrats on your success. And you guys ready for the rapid fire part?
I think so.
All right. So we talked a lot about, different books and whatnot, but what would you say the book that's had the biggest impact on building your business? What do you think that is?
Oh, it's tough, but I would say the three I mentioned, Way of the Wolf specifically for the cold calling tactics and the tonality on the phone. Number one, Radical Candor as well has been good. And then 3, the one you recommended, the E-Myth Revisited has been really good. Once you have created that business and then you need to scale, that's a good one. So I'd say those 3 for me, for sure.
Awesome.
I would say Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell has definitely been a major one for me. It's a work in progress for me still, but that's on my top list for now.
Yeah. Awesome. Amazing. All right. So for each of you, how would others describe you in 3 words? Maybe we'll start with you, Christine.
Describe me?
Yeah. 3 words that others would describe you as.
Okay. I would say a perfectionist, I would hopefully say, like friendly, I would hope. That's forming relationships is really important to me. So did you want to add one, Josh? Because I don't like talking about myself.
Selfless. Yeah.
Can I call
Very
her
selfless. She's too selfless.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I'll go with that. If you want to say that one, I'll take it.
No, that's good. I mean, Josh would be the one that would know. So that's, you think of other people. That's good. How about you, Josh? What are three words you think that people would describe? We're going to save the last one for Christine, and she's going to tell you what maybe you missed. So what are maybe 2, and then Christine will fill in the last one.
I'd say maybe people would consider me disciplined, tenacious. I don't know, Christine. What would be the last one?
I'm gonna go with relentless. I want to say, you are oriented to find a goal, like to achieve a goal, no matter what it takes.
Yeah, no, that's good. I was thinking persistent, so I think we're all kind of honing in. No, that's great. Very cool. All right, and then some final advice that you would give the entrepreneurs out there listening. What would you say would be your final piece of advice for them?
Josh, I'll start it off and you add in as well. I think it's important to build a team with people who do not necessarily share your strengths. So that way you're all bringing in your own unique abilities. I know between Josh and I, we have very different strengths. And I think that's why we are able to work together, because what is my skill is not his skill and vice versa. So I would say trying to bring together a team of people who bring their own unique abilities for sure.
Great advice. Josh?
I would say follow up relentlessly and also master the art of cold outreach. Like, do not be scared to go out there and put yourself out there. The worst that's going to happen is they say no, and you would be no if you don't ask the question. Sort of, it's a corny saying, but you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? So just keep shooting.
Wow, guys, this is so good. You guys are a real inspiration for entrepreneurs out there, and I really appreciate you guys coming on the show. Now, how can the listeners reach out to you? Maybe they can find out a little bit more about your business and connect. What's the best way they can do that?
Absolutely. Our LinkedIn page for Limitless Staffing, we'll link it in the notes here, but please follow us and reach out to Josh and I directly on LinkedIn, and we'll include our emails there as well.
Awesome. Thanks again, guys, for coming on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, guys, thanks for listening to the show. If you enjoyed it, please share and subscribe to the channel, where we are building a community of up-and-coming entrepreneurs. And by the way, if you're out there looking at real estate and you can't find any good deals out there, go to fulloutinvesting.com. We have our full 10-step full-out investing process, and we actually have a sample deal on there as well. Go to fulloutinvesting.com. And remember, the fastest way to build wealth is to grow your business and invest in real estate. I love you guys.